Folks, howdy. It's so bad it's good. This is your pal Ryan, and this is your Friday episode. We have done it. We have made it to the end of the week. And listen, I might have a little more pep in my step because I'm recording this at like 1:30 in the afternoon and not late at night. And I already got my hike out of the way for the day, so I don't have to dread exercising later, so we can just chill. We can have a good time. We can be loose. I mean, maybe not too loose, but we can be loose, right? Also, I might have a surprise special episode on Saturday, so if you're subscribed, that'll come right back in your feed, or you can just look for it if you need something a little extra this weekend. But how are you guys doing? Are you good? Are you happy that it's Friday? Man, this sweet, sweet weekend, except for the people that have to work over the weekends or have kids. And then it probably just feels like full-time work all of the time. So anyways, we're going to have a good time today. It's going to be an OC recap. And tonight's episode, I watched the other day and I watched it again today. And it's a little... It's what we always say on this podcast is multiple things can be true at one time. And there's a little bit of a Valley-esque sentiment when I talk about the OC is that, once again, we are headed into nobody is aspirational territory. Anywhere you point, you could be like, well, they're having a good week, but next week they could be horrible. And Tamra is wrong in certain situations, and Tamra's right in certain situations. And I'm just begging people to really look up what the word journalist means. This whole episode, they're treating this like a Watergate level, it's like a Watergate level event where, it's like at the end of the day, it's a reality show and everybody lies on these shows. And I do believe it is going to be proven out that Katie is just unfortunately lying all over the place and doing a decently bad job at it. Like you might think, oh, she's doing good. No, she's doing bad. And I think this season is going to continue to point that out. But there's a lot of things that mystify me about this. And once again, if you can't show us and you're telling us about things that happen off the screen, it's not nearly as exciting. And I feel like you have to have a primer. And by the way, we're going to be your primer today, but you have to have a deep knowledge of Orange County, in a sense, to really get the full impact of this storyline. I think people would be really confused and maybe a little bored or turned off because you're having to deal with outside bloggers, podcasters, previous seasons with the naked, wasted Tamra Gretchen scenario. There's a lot that goes behind this, and it also shows you how many conversations and phone calls and behind the scenes moves are happening. Like people are encouraging people to lie and go to bat for other people in scenes, and the curtain's being like kind of lifted on some of those things, which I find fascinating, but I find it fascinating because I'm a goof. This is what I study. I mean, so I find it interesting from a production standpoint, and also it just shows you how much all of these ladies and all reality stars in general, this is why there needs to be term limits on Housewives, because they get to a certain point where they are trying to craft narrative and they are trying to campaign for better showings on these episodes. And I'm just like, I want to just burn it all down then. Burn it all down. Let's just start with a core group of friends and go from there, because we are so far off the beaten track at this point. And at the same time, I did find this episode enjoyable, and I think we're going to have a good time going through the madness of these scenarios. And I just want you to keep in mind, multiple things can be true at once, and we'll talk about that. But you just can't help but the low-level fame that all of these ladies have gotten from the show plays such a factor. It's like they're a friend of on this show, because they've all been affected in some way about bloggers and journalists. And like I said, this isn't the fucking New York, sorry about the language. This isn't the New York Times or the Washington Post. Like, the journalism we're talking about is in like Reality Blurb or TMZ or Daily Mail, which I find a great comfort in going to all of those websites. But I never go, ooh, I'm getting the hard-hitting news right now. Like, it's a very small segment of people in the outside world truly give an F about any of this stuff, but we do. So welcome. We're going to have a good time. Let's do a couple of pop culture stories before we get into the OC. Wait, and also, I think I have, but are you guys okay? Are you good? Man, I didn't think we were going to make it through the week. And then I was like, all of a sudden it's Thursday and I think we're going to make it through the week. Oh God, you guys, I keep saying that I'm going to go see that movie Weapons in movie theaters, but I think tonight's the night. I'm trying to do this early so I can go see a movie. I'm very excited about the prospect. But knowing me, though, I'll get this done potentially, and then I'll be like, I'm too tired to go out to the movie. I'm too tired to go out and sit down in a public space and watch a movie. I would rather maybe just watch a movie on my couch. Does everybody get like that at a certain age where I'm just like, outside, really? In fact, I was hiking today, and I thought, God, this would be so much cooler if I was watching TV while hiking. I was like, oh man, I'm truly insane. Okay, listen, you know I love her dearly, and I've done multiple stories this week about her, but Taylor Swift, if you're listening, I need you to stop. I really need you to stop because we woke up to another countdown on her website today. And she has, yes, released and announced another 2 limited pressing vinyls for the life of a showgirl, her new album that comes out October 3rd. This is the Baby That's Show Business collection, which I said the other day, that's Showbiz. Oh, that's Showbiz Baby was going to be the name of this podcast at one point when I first started out. But anyways, Baby That's Show Business. I like the title, but it's a Lovely Bouquet Golden vinyl. That's what Lovely Bouquet, and a Lakeside Beach Blue Sparkle vinyl. Can somebody take away the color palette from Taylor Swift? I mean, how many variants of this vinyl do we need? How much? I mean, who are the people? I mean, I don't even have, if I went to my dad, like how many kids are going to their parents asking for money for all of these vinyls? Like I should do that. I should text my dad right now. Dad, could I borrow $50 for a bouquet vinyl edition of Taylor Swift? Dad, could I borrow some money to buy more Taylor Swift vinyls? It's too much, man. It is too much. In TV news, the hit Max streaming series The Pit, starring Noah Wyle, which had its first season last year, and it's an excellent TV show. Well, they just released the preview for the second season, which is still shooting here in Los Angeles, and it's good for me. I'm just gonna have a stroke while I talk. Sometimes I trip over my lips and my gums, like Gary Delabate. It is going to have its second season premiere in January. They did not give us a specific date, but the full trailer has been released. Also, a full trailer has been released for the Love Island USA Season 6 cast reunion with Ariana Madix and Andy Cohen hosting. And it looks fun. It looks exciting. That's going to be this upcoming Monday. And then we will be able to put this season to bed. Also, did you know Andy Cohen? I know I just kiss Andy Cohen's ass all the time, and he has probably no clue who I am, but hasn't he looked better in the last month? Like, drop your skincare routine. And also, not even your skincare. Just be honest. Like, what are you doing? Is it peptides? Is it NAD? Is it human growth hormone? What are you doing? Because it can't just be hair. Andy has done something to himself where he has looked very good. I mean, he always looks good, but he looks very good this past month. Andy, if you're listening, I love you. Which I guess Watch What Happens Live is on break for the next couple of weeks, and he's over in Southampton where he has a place with his kids. And guess who Dumois has a photo of? It's John Mayers with Andy Cohen staying at his place. And I was like, God, to be a fly on the wall. Do you think Andy Cohen has shared the new season of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City with John Mayer? Do you think he's like, oh, watch the season 6 premiere with me? Like, I wonder how far in advance Andy Cohen gets cuts of all of the Bravo shows. I mean, and how close do you have to be with Andy Cohen for, to be able to ask him like, hey man, could you send me the rest of this season? We know his good friends are like Amy Sedaris, Matthew Broderick, and Sarah Jessica Parker. They're all close, but I wonder if any of those guys get really into Housewives. I don't think they do. And I wonder what they think of, because Amy Sedaris is on Andy's radio show a lot and Watch What Happens Live. Amy Sedaris, one of the funniest people in the world. But I do wonder sometimes if Amy ever gets into the Housewives shows themselves and what she thinks about it. And I think Amy Sedaris, if there was ever a movie parody of the Housewives, would be so perfect in one of the roles. Just putting it out there. Okay, and in our ongoing Jax Taylor coverage, this popped up yesterday. This is from the U.S. Sun, which is, I would say it's up there in the Daily Mail category. So it's always hit or miss, and you got to take anything that the U.S. Sun writes with a grain of salt. But this is an article by Nicole Chenoweth, and the headline says, "Work in progress? Jax Taylor, quote, love-bombed, had sex with, then discarded, end quote, several female employees at his LA bar before he was fired." So Danny Bucco had mentioned this in the finale of The Valley, and they talked about this briefly, and Jax kind of shooed it off, and Brittany was like, Jax Taylor shouldn't run a bar, shots. It says, the Valley star allegedly used his power and charm at the workplace to manipulate women into falling for him and weaved a web of lies to keep it under the radar. Multiple women, including staffers at Jax's Studio City, have come forward to share their experiences with Jax, but all chose to remain anonymous due to fear of him retaliating against them. One woman, who has been a staffer for over a year at Jax's, the Los Angeles bar he opened in October of 2023, told the U.S. Sun that, in addition to herself, he has slept with multiple employees. Talk about a horrible job. Just talk about we're going to need you to clean and dust and potentially have relations with one of your bosses. Quote, I thought I was the only one he slept with, but after everything ended, I found out he told the same things and used the same tricks on a few of us. I'm a work in progress. God, gross. He used his power there and his charm to manipulate his own staffers, make us think we were the first employee he had ever been with so that we had to keep it a secret. Guys, this place, it's no longer Jackson Studio City, but it's a very small place. So I'm just shocked that he was able to keep any of this hush-hush. It's not a large staff. He would make me believe he would never risk breaking the rules for anyone else but me. Oh, God, are these people that just don't watch Vanderpump Rules? Sometimes at the bar, he would make sexual comments or inappropriate innuendos at the workplace. Quote, I know it made me feel uncomfortable because I wouldn't know how to respond, given he's still my boss and I was at work. We all felt like we had to go along with it, the bar staffer claimed. See, listen, I don't know I don't know if this is true or not. This is being reported in the U.S. Sun. Everybody remains anonymous. But it's one of those things that you could picture and also then leads you to believe, is this why they parted ways with Jax, even though he said he was stepping away? That's still very hazy. Multiple women had similar stories about how Jax did not wear protection. Okay, sounds like him. But would always offer to buy the Plan B pill following the hookup. I've got a deal on Plan B. Yeah, all the Plan B you could want. That's gross. Another woman who claimed Jax aggressively pursued her after finding her on Instagram and DMing her said that his behavior caused her emotional whiplash. Now, another thing that that sounds very possible, but even if anonymous, wouldn't you give the DMs to the U.S. Sun so they could actually print that? Because at the same time, you don't want this to be a piling on of people that have just made up these things, even though I tend to believe all of this. Quote, he was extremely sexual right from the first few minutes of conversation. He made plans instantly, talked about our future and what that would look like. It looks pretty bleak. And how he told his friends that he was in love with me. Then he gave me his phone number right away because he said his team watches what he does on socials. That is 100% true. We would text all day long, and he was immediately so vulnerable and open with me. He'd say the kindest things and love bomb me day in and day out. I was hesitant at first because of his intensity and honesty, but I found out he told all of us girls that we were the only ones he was talking to and how he doesn't see anyone or do anything and how this is also new to him. She went on to say the graphic nature of the sexual text she would receive from Jax was shocking, providing one example that allegedly boasted about how he wanted to put his DNA inside of her. Oh, the fact that Jax even knows what DNA is. This is like the worst kind of Jurassic Park reboot ever, you know? Although she had some hesitations, she felt he was serious about her due to the proclamations he was making to her at the time, but it turns out she wasn't the only one he would make vows to. No, this reads like a season 3 storyline of The Valley, and thank God we don't have to see it. Now I want to talk about our friends over at Mint Mobile. So you know what doesn't belong in your epic summer plans? Getting burned by your old wireless bill. And that is why I made the switch to Mint Mobile, and I am saving oodles of money. And now, for a limited time, Mint Mobile is offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless service for $15 a month on the nation's largest 5G network. You're going to say goodbye to jaw-dropping monthly bills, those unexpected overages. Oh my God, one summer I paid an insane amount in overages. Mint Mobile is going to be here to rescue you. So it comes with that high-speed data, the unlimited talk and text on that largest 5G network. So ditch your overpriced wireless network and get 3 months of unlimited service from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. I love it. So this year, what are we going to do? We're going to skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get this new customer offer and your 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/sobad. That's important. Mintmobile.com/sobad, even though it's so good. That's mintmobile.com/sobad. Upfront payments of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. We are talking about our friends at Quince today. Now, I just wore a Quince product the other night. I wore my beautiful, breathable navy sports jacket, which has come so in handy this summer. I'm actually overusing it. So why drop a fortune on basics when you don't have to? Quince has the good stuff, high-quality fabrics, classic fits, and lightweight layers for warm weather, all at prices that make sense. Everything I've ordered from Quince has been nothing but solid. They have the closet staples you're going to want to reach for over and over, like cozy cashmere and cotton sweaters from just $50, breathable flow knit polos, and comfortable lightweight pants that somehow work for both weekend hangs and dressed up dinners. And the best part, everything with Quince is half the cost of similar brands. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middlemen, Quince gives you the luxury pieces without the markup. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. So, you got to keep it classic and cool, like your boy Ryan, LOL. You're going to have long-lasting staples from Quince. Go to quince.com/sobad for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/sobad to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/sobad. Folks, I have a new product I'm obsessed with, and that is IndaCloud. Some days, your brain needs a vacation your body can actually afford, and that's where IndaCloud comes in. You juggle the chaos. Listen, I'm talking about Bravo's The Valley for 3 hours at a clip. I do that. I have to answer emails. You even go outside sometimes. So yeah, you've earned a better way to unwind. Enter IndaCloud. It's federally legal THC in the form of gummies, pre-rolls, and flower designed to turn hanging on into fully chilling. So, if you're 21 or older, head to indacloud.co, indacloud.co, and use code SOBAD, even though it's so good, to get 25% off your first order plus free shipping. That's indacloud.co, code SOBAD, 25% off, free shipping. Just a better vibe in your mailbox. I got to tell you, the first time I tried IndaCloud, I was having a night, right? I was really super burned out. I had been talking about Jax Taylor for a very long time, and that can really eat at you. And then I took a gummy, and everything kind of just fell away. I was able to tune out my work and just vibe. We love to say the word vibe, and I was vibing. So whether you're chasing deeper sleep, better focus, or just some peace between your streaming marathons, okay, that's directed totally at me. This is how adults get elevated now. If you're 21 or older, just to remind you, now is your chance to float above the stress because IndaCloud is giving all new customers 25% off their first order plus free shipping. Just use code SOBAD or click the link in the show notes to claim your discount. That's indacloud.co, INDACLOUD.co. Use code SOBAD for free shipping plus 25% off your first order. Fill out their quick survey when you order to support this show. That is really important, and I appreciate that in advance. And make your week more enjoyable. All thanks to IndaCloud. He tells every woman he's with that she's the only one he's sleeping with, but it's always a lie. He always has a roster of women. Most of the time, there's some ridiculous name for us in his phone. He has a system he's perfected like clockwork over the years to distract from the fact that he's a liar. She added that after making each girl feel like they were the one, they learned he had sent the same texts, the same gifts, and the same plans for the future to all of them. What gifts? This is something for my eBay page. Something special for you. It's Britney's Jenny Craig merch. Part of their gifts included Jax's bar merch, which he gave to the women he was sleeping with and allegedly asked them to send sexier pictures of them wearing the merch back to him. Oh, God. The women claimed their relationship fizzled out in a similar manner that multiple girls also stated, where Jax would all of a sudden get intense moments of paranoia that would lead to him blaming the girls for things that weren't their fault. Out of nowhere, he'd accuse me of things that weren't true. He'd be fine, then get so angry at me out of nowhere, and everything was always my fault. Why didn't you visit me in rehab/mental health facility/Domino's/KFC? In terms of how the public figure was able to keep things under wraps for so long, one of the women claimed that Jax would tell the girls that he couldn't be seen out in public with them until his divorce was finalized, which is funny because he is the one that is dragging his feet on finalizing the divorce, it seems. He is hiding behind his divorce being finalized to keep all of his women silent and under the radar. It's manipulative, and it's a terrible way to treat people. He would act like he was the victim in this. He's talking about the divorce with Britney. He spoke a lot about his ex-wife and how she was destroying his life and saying he doesn't trust women anymore. He'd just say really bad things about her. He would thank me for letting him unload all of what he was dealing with on me and seemed so grateful to talk about it. I won't get into how vulgar he got, but he would make disgusting comments about her body and her looks. That sounds like Jax. Overall, multiple women claimed their encounters with Jax left them feeling humiliated, angry, and even really heartbroken. To all of that, but it's Jax. The year of our Lord 2025, I feel like we have enough record of Jax being this way. I don't know. Anyways, so that was the gist of this article, you guys. But then my mind kind of goes to, and there's no proof of this, remember at the beginning of the week when Jax had unfollowed his publicist Lori Kay and removed her from his bio. And I was sitting there going, oh, well, she represents Britney. He probably can't pay her right now, so maybe it's nothing dramatic. Maybe they parted ways. And then on Tuesday or Wednesday, he refollowed Lori Kay. And now part of me was wondering, did they know this article was coming out and Jax got pissed at Lori for not being able to bury this story, and the story came out, and it's another thing on top of every other thing that makes him look bad? Could this have possibly been something that was dramatic between the two of them? Anywho, a good Friday Jax article to get us going, but my God, they start shooting Valley in a week and a half, and dark stuff. I wonder if any of these ladies will go on record. And it seems like there are multiple text exchanges and DMs and even sexy pictures with his merch. So I'm curious if this story will have legs or if this will just die on the vine. So we will see. For all you Sister Wives fans out there, big news. We got our first look at the trailer for season 20 of Sister Wives on TLC, which premieres Sunday, September 28th. And remember, Kody Brown is going to be on this season of Special Forces on Fox with Brittany Cartwright. So look forward to Kody. I keep getting Kody workout videos sent to me on TikTok, and it seems like he just has bad form in everything. He's going to hurt himself in there. But yeah, the trailer dropped. The synopsis for the new season says the family is more emotionally raw than ever. In the wake of multiple separations, the family faces major turning points. Mary dips her toe into dating with an awkward but promising speed dating event, while Janelle takes steps towards a spiritual divorce after a freeing trip to New Orleans. Oh, just like in Real Housewives of Orange County. Christine and David are settling into married life, but Christine is shaken when her kids begin moving to North Carolina near Janelle, sparking jealousy and hurt. Wow. So Mary does speed dating. Christine gets a little jealous of her kids moving close to Janelle. And there is even one thing where Cody's talking to Robin, and Cody's like, I got another one of those emails from some woman asking sort of like to get to know us for the purpose of joining the family. And he lets out a laugh. He's like, ha ha ha. But then there's a close up of Sob and Robin's face, and it shows that she is not pleased. So yeah, we get an all new season on September 28th. One of my biggest regrets in life is not buying property on Coyote Pass in Arizona. And I believe he sold or is selling all of that land. So we will never get the Cody Brown Mecca that was once promised, the Graceland for Cody Brown. So yeah, Sister Wives is back and better than ever. And then this is interesting news. Millie Bobby Brown, she plays 11 on the Netflix series Stranger Things, which premieres its final season, I believe, in November, if I'm not mistaken. She's only 21 years old, you guys, even though she looks like she's mid-30s because she's always like done up like a housewife. Millie Bobby Brown adopts baby girl with husband Jake Bon Jovi. Jake Bon Jovi is John Bon Jovi's son. Yeah. Bon Jovi. She is married to a Bon Jovi. So they announced the baby via an Instagram post saying, "This summer we welcomed our sweet baby girl through adoption. We are beyond excited to embark on this beautiful next chapter of parenthood in both peace and privacy." And then she ended it with, "And then there were 3." A 21. Man, think about where you were when you were 21 years old. I still didn't know how to properly wipe myself. And Millie Bobby Brown and her young husband have already adopted a baby at 21. I swear to God, she does act like she is in her mid-30s to like mid-60s. She's very grown up. And I think that's probably just being like a little professional on set potentially. Her mom, she said, actually had her first child at 21. And she said her dad was 19 when that happened. So it seems like maybe, she's a little open to the idea. I love the thought of adoption. I think that is a beautiful thing to do. So yeah, I mean, Millie Bobby Brown is now a mom. I just always find it funny is that Stranger Things, in the timeline of Stranger Things, these kids look like they're like an AARP age and they're supposed to still be like 16 years old. And some of them have like bad knees and like are balding now because it's taken so long between seasons to film these things. But I can't wait for that final season of Stranger Things. Okay, that is the pop culture news for today. Let's get into the OC. But I want to give a shout out to my neighbor Tracy. This is crazy. Rebecca was outside. She comes back in. She's like, "Oh my God, I was talking to our neighbor, Tracy, and she loves your podcast." And usually I think a normal person would be like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." I was like, "Oh my God, no. How did she find that? Oh no." And she goes, "She really, really gets a kick out of your Jeana impression." And I was like, "Oh my God, there's one person that gets a kick out of my Jeana impression." But I thought it was actually awesome. She seemed to really enjoy it. And I guess housewives are her thing. So Tracy, if you're listening, thank you for being here. I'm sorry. Eventually you will find me annoying, and then you might like me again. So stick with the show. I always say this is like a virus. It just slowly takes over. But my God, that was so funny. So Tracy, we speak your name on this fine Friday. And this is good. Spread the word, you guys. If you listen and you enjoy, spread it to your friends. I always like to picture families gathering in front of the hearth in a fireplace setting and just listening together as a family, or however you want to listen. Make your kids listen. Make people listen. That's the goal, I guess, at the end of the day. Oh, wait, one more TV thing that I just saw. The Paper, which is a new TV show from the creators of The Office, and it's supposed to be like The Office. And in fact, Oscar from the TV show The Office appears as a character on The Paper, the same character, but it was set to debut on September 4th, and they were only releasing 4 episodes, and then they were going to release, I guess, an episode every week after that for 10 episodes. And then they just announced today that all 10 episodes will be released to stream September 4th on Peacock. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if they don't have confidence in it. I'm always a big fan of releasing over multiple weeks so it gets the conversation started and keeps the conversation going. So I'm curious why they decided to do this very last minute, but all 10 episodes will be released on September 4th for Peacock's The Paper, the spiritual sequel to The Office. Real Housewives of Orange County, Season 19, Episode 7. This is entitled, The Truth Will Not Set You Free. See what they did there? It's usually the truth will set you free, will not set you free. And this is the description DirecTV gives us. The ladies wake up in New Orleans after Tamra's dramatic departure. Shannon finds herself in murky waters when she shows up late to a Gator boat tour. Katie's explanation of contacting an influencer leaves her closest allies to question her stories. I love that the description even gets it more right than the show does. An influencer, not a blogger, an influencer, or maybe just like a content creator or something. Let's get all on the same page here. Now, where we left the episode last week was Tamra was a little schnookered, a little shit-faced, and she's like, she was all slurry, and Jen Pedranti was like, what are you on, girl? And Gina was like, you hammered, Tamra, you hammered. And Tamra was pissed, and even when Tamra was like, snapping back at Heather Dubrow, which is something that you don't do. And then Tamra immediately left, immediately posted on Instagram stories of like, sometimes this reality shit ain't all it's cracked up to be. Deuces, like peace sign. And then like called Eddie and was like, get me out of here, Eddie, get me out of here. And so she, for all intents and purposes, left the show. In this episode, like I said last week, Tamra, this is like one of her greatest hits. She's done this before. There was no doubt for a lot of people that she would come back. And she has come back in this episode. We didn't even get an episode away. So she is already back. And it's I find Tamra a very interesting case study for what long-term effects on the brain happens when you are on reality TV for this long. Sheen is another person that I always talk about, a very interesting case study, but so is Tamra. And it's like, it signifies sound. No, it's sound and fury signifying nothing. There's like so much. And then if you start thinking about it, you're like, at the end of the day, who really cares? Like who truly gives a shit? But I always argue I want people that have skin in the game. I want people like you, that they really feel like something is happening. And this episode really makes you feel like something is happening. But just if you start really thinking about it and breaking it down, you're like, wait a sec, none of this really none of this truly matters. But man, it seems like it matters to all of them. And that's what we want. So that's where we left off. Tamra leaves, the other ladies know, and we go from there. So we pick right back up after that dinner. Tamra's gone, and Emily and the rest of the ladies that are still there are gathered around. And Emily's like, listen, Court. And she sits down. Ladies in waiting. And Gina's like, what happened? And Heather's like, I have never seen her act like that. And then Shannon, we flash back to the actual dinner, and Tamra's like, none of your fucking business. And Gretchen's like, ooh, oh my, oh, wow, oh. And then Tamra leaning to Katie going, fuck off. I mean, it's just a lot of Tamra cursing. And then we have Tamra in the car calling Eddie. Tamra's calling Eddie, and she's like doing like a little solo performance in the Uber ride. We need to find this Uber driver. And Tamra's like, I don't need this. And then we go back to Gina talking to the other ladies and Heather's like, it is not normal. I am worried for Tamra. And Gina's like, this is how Tamra gets sometimes. She put on her Instagram, it was a long run. When life gives you real problems, this reality shit doesn't make sense. Peace out. Out. Very Tamra. And Gina's like, she thought when she shared this story with Gretchen, and we flash back to last week's episode when Tamra and Shannon and Gretchen were outside because they were scared of voodoo dolls. Tamra says, Gretchen, Katie said that you told her that I roofied you. I don't mean to laugh at the roofie thing, but it's like there are so many hoops you have to go through because Tamra's revealing this to Gretchen to potentially prove that Katie's a liar, even though in reality we find out that Katie potentially lied to the ladies and Gretchen did say this, but then Gretchen is lying to Tamra's face because Gretchen also knows how to clock Tamra and knows Tamra's ins and outs. So it was a real risk for Tamra to bring this up, and she almost had to make herself look bad to prove her overall point. And I don't know necessarily if it was worth it, because if you bring up the naked wasted party from all of those seasons ago in Real Housewives of Orange County, first off, most of the audience might not even remember those or have never watched those earlier seasons. And if you haven't, my God, you are in for a treat. But yeah, I don't think Tamra roofied Gretchen at all, but I do think they did help get Gretchen super wasted. You know what? A roofie, a lot of alcohol will provide a roofie-like experience sometimes for you if you are super wasted. Like Tamra and Vicki, to a degree, looked horrible back then in that episode, remember? And then Tamra's son Ryan was involved. So it wasn't great, but I love that Tamra is bringing up something that you could go back and kind of scold Tamra for in her behavior, but she's doing that in order to prove that Katie's bad and that maybe Gretchen is bad as well. So then we flash to the women after this dinner again. And Gina's like, I think she got really upset after she told Gretchen this and Gretchen didn't stand by her. And then we see Katie just kind of listening to all of this. And then we flash back to Gretchen talking to Katie going, you've never gone to a blogger. You never said anything. And Katie going, no, Gretchen, I didn't. And then Gretchen talking to Tamra last week's episode saying, hey, Katie did not do that. And Tamra's like, and you believe her? And Gretchen says, yeah, I do. And then in this after dinner scene, Gretchen says, I believe my friend. And Gina goes, it's so clear, whatever the circumstances with Kiki Monique, remember, we don't say Kiki. We don't just say Kiki. We have to say Kiki Monique. It's like former fatty photo. You have to say Kiki's first and last name, which really, if you think about it, is great publicity. Like there's a bunch of Kikis. We have Kiki on Real Housewives of Miami. You can have a Kiki with your friend, but Kiki Monique, you can't buy that kind of advertising, even though I wonder sometimes would we talked about this multiple times. I think I would be horrified if I heard my first and last name in a Real Housewives of Orange County episode. I would just be like, oh, no, please don't. But Gina keeps going, yeah, but then at the table, Tamra was kind of pushing back on that. And we flashed to Tamra saying, what if Gretchen did tell Katie that? So it's not only that Katie potentially did tell reporters, bloggers, journalists, and the like about this roofie comment, but Tamra is now saying, what if Katie didn't make it up? What if Gretchen actually did say that? What if the mystery deepens? And Heather and everybody at the table is like, she did. Can I tell you something? She didn't. And Gina's like, she didn't, Tamra. And then Gina goes, Tamra drinks and she's nasty. It's like, who can I poke? And Heather's like, something turned in Tamra that night. And remember, you know what I love when you think about with Gina is Gina's stone cold sober. Gina quit drinking a while ago. And I just imagine like raw dogging a housewives trip. You usually need some sort of social lubricant for a housewives trip. You always see it, and that's why they get like stinky wasted on these shows. Imagine going on a trip just like free balling, like just like, oh, let me see your mocktail menu. My God. But Heather's like chewing food through her, like she's like, I know it. I saw it with Tamra. I saw it. And then we do like a montage of Tamra walking down the stairs from last week and Tamra telling the producers, do you have a car for me? And Gina then says, Tamra's going to therapy and she's ripping shit open, but you can't be a fucking dick. I love Gina. She goes, you can't be a fucking dick. And then Emily goes, you can be a dick, but you have to apologize at the end of the day. And that is our first opening shot. We didn't, they do this new thing the last 2 episodes where they don't show us scenes from previous episodes. They do, but they put a new little scene and then they montage scenes from previous episodes in that opening. I see what you're doing, OC, and I kind of like it. It's the next day in New Orleans. The sun is shining. We have beautiful music, beautiful concerto in the background, and we see Jenn Pedranti in bed. And right next to her is her voodoo doll, Jennifer, that she made at the Bloody Mary play. Like, I'm Bloody Mary, make your voodoo dolls. And Gretchen was like, oh my God, the Lord doesn't like that. Well, the voodoo doll, Jennifer, is sitting right next to Jenn Pedranti. And that's right, folks. She slept with her voodoo doll. Something very dirty happened. No, she's sipping coffee next to the voodoo doll. And she goes, I swear to God, I didn't put an extra pin in the voodoo doll to get Tamra out of here. But something about Tamra not being around feels lighter. And if she needs to go home and focus on herself, this is probably the smartest decision I've ever seen Tamra make. So yeah, like Tamra being gone, Jenn seems like a nice person, but at the end of the day, Jenn doesn't like Tamra for good reason. So yeah, if you were in that situation, you'd be like, we're going to have the best day of our lives in New Orleans, right? And then Jenn tells her voodoo doll that she's going to call Ryan, her fiance. And so she's FaceTiming Ryan, and we see that Ryan has a hair helmet on. I don't even know what a hair helmet is, but I know Rebecca was watching this with me, and she's like, you need one of those. And I was like, what? What are you talking? I have a gorgeous head of hair. How dare you? I'm guessing, is Ryan going bald? Is this something to help with like balding or something? But of course Ryan has a hair helmet on. Is this like UV light for your head? Is this going to affect his brains? Anyways, Ryan's like, you got your jammies on. You got your coffee going? And Jenn introduces the voodoo doll to Ryan. And Ryan's like, who is that? Threesome? Huh? All right. So he's like, okay. Jenn goes, hey, Ryan, have you seen anything on social media? And we have clips from like reality T headline pop up. Is Tamra Judge fired or leaving Real Housewives of Orange County after appearing to quit on Instagram? March 10th, 2025. Just for frame of reference, this was in March. And Ryan says, I have. It's always a bad sign when a boyfriend, fiance, or husband on the Housewives have seen headlines. Because once again, this isn't normal news headlines. This isn't CNN, MSNBC, or Miss Now, or Fox News. This is reality TV. It means that Ryan is very active in the Bravo Housewives community, right? I'm going to put my hair helmet UV light on and just scroll the blogs. Ryan goes, what's going on, Jenn? And Jenn's like, I don't know. We went to dinner last night and she just started biting at everybody. Fuck you, fuck you. And we flash back to Tamra the previous night going, fuck off. And then Gina said, that's enough. You're not going to sit at my table and come in sloshed. And she got her purse and she left. It was bad. And Ryan's like, wow. Ryan should put on an FBI hat like Tamra did at the end of the last season to troll Ryan. So all these people are just psyched that Tamra's gone, right? And then we cut to Gretchen in her hotel room FaceTiming with Ned from The Simpsons, Ned Flanders. No, it's Slade. And it says Slade, Gretchen's life partner, because they are not married. And Gretchen's like, what the hell is going on with your look, Slade? And Slade looks like Ned Flanders. I'm like, howdy, neighbor, what's going on? Just the mustache. It's like they found a way to make Slade look creepier. Was just a big old mustache. Gretchen's like, I am going to pray to God that you decide to shave this. I'm going to kill you. And Slade's like, come on. I can't take you seriously, Slade. I am friggin' exhausted. Oh my God. Once again, this is Gretchen waking up and she has like 8 layers of spackle makeup on already. She goes, Slade, Tamra dropped this bombshell that Katie was trying to sell some story. I feel like she was trying to cause me and Katie to have a fight. And then she says, I'm done. I'm leaving. I'm quitting the show. And Slade's like, oh, come on. Gretchen. And Gretchen's like, I don't even know if she's here. And Slade's like, her lies and her manipulations are all catching up with her. And then we flash to Katie FaceTiming with her husband, Matt. And Katie saying, Matt, last night was a shit show. All this Kiki Monique stuff made me feel sick. I've been up all night, sick about it. In a talking head, Katie goes, I didn't tell Kiki. That's it. Plain and simple. Now, what I believe to be true and what I think we're going to find out in future episodes is that she damn well did tell Kiki. The problem is that, like, say it with your whole chest, Katie. Say it like, yeah, I did tell Kiki because I did hear this from Gretchen, or I did. You're getting caught in too many things. And just say you did these things, because you're going to have somebody like Kiki that will literally tell the truth about this scenario. Oh, what a twisted web this is, folks. And at the end of the day, who cares? But Katie's like, now we have to get on a boat to go see alligators. And one of these bitches is going to push me off. And Matt says, push them before they push you. Now, Matt, of course, is joking. But if we were to take this out of context, Matt just told Katie to kill some of these housewives. Anyways, Katie's laughing and going, I'll pull a weave. And then we have Emily walking into Shannon's room. And my God, Shannon looks like she has been hit by a Mack truck. And Emily's like, oh my God, you look stunning, princess. She looks like the Shannon beast. Like, I'm the Shannon beast. I've got nine lemons in a bowl and I haven't showered. So Emily's like, how are you? He's like, good. Did Tamra leave? And Emily's like, I think she did. And we flash back to the previous night where all the ladies have their phones out and getting texts from Tamra. And Shannon's like, I just got a text from Tamra saying I'm leaving at 4 a.m. And Tamra texted her, come up without cameras, to Shannon. And Shannon goes, I'm not the ride or die right now. I mean, we just made a step. We made a big step today. And Jen's like, just do whatever feels good for you, for Shannon. And I am proud of Shannon in this moment because, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is like a kind of a real life scenario. If you're really close with somebody, you feel that they've betrayed you, and then you're kind of working towards reconciliation in terms of a friendship. But like Tamra does this thing where then she expects she's reaching out to these people like Shannon when she hasn't fully earned that trust back. So in some ways, this is very different, and something that should be encouraged in Shannon is don't buy into bullshit. Make Tamra earn that friendship back and work for it. And need I remind you how much Tamra has said about Shannon being an alcoholic when who actually was schnockered that night in New Orleans? It was Tamra. And so that's what's frustrating is Tamra hurling out the meanest of insults. And then she exhibits the own behavior herself and never can accept full accountability for that. So I was actually proud of Shannon for being like, I'm not going to go up to her room at 4 a.m. without cameras, right? But Shannon's like, I'm not going to do the snap your fingers. We're good. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not. She tells Emily, I want to get confirmation that she's gone. You know, it reminds me of Bali a little. And Shannon reminds the audience in Bali, Tamra said, you'll never see me again. And we flash back to 2014, this iconic episode where Tamra was getting like hammered and Tamra finally walked away. We see Vicki Gunvalson and Tamra does the iconic line of, you'll never see me again. Goodbye. And then she's running in Bali with her shoes off down like hall, which by the way, Tamra follows me and I follow her now. But at one point, Sandra will have to confirm this, but I made a meme with this image of like, you'll never see me again. I forgot what the meme was, but I think we reached out to have Tamra on. I think this is like 4 years ago. And if I'm not mistaken, Tamra just sent my meme back to Sandra going like, no, I just thought I was like, okay, yeah. No, that makes touche. That makes complete sense. But I do like, it's like, come on, this is one of the funniest images ever. And I do understand how these kind of things would hurt your feelings, but at the same time, they're iconic imagery. And it's a two-way street, man. Like, you want us, the audience or the content creators, or just us normies, you want us making memes. It gets the gospel of Housewives out there. And it's just funny watching Tamra run barefoot going, fuck you guys, because sometimes Tamra she'll dish it out, but she finds a very hard time in taking it. But Shannon goes, yeah, she said she was leaving and that we'll never see her again. And then Shannon quietly goes, and we saw her right after. Yeah, Tamra never leaves. And then in the room with Emily, Shannon goes, 11:11. It's 11:11. Manifest. And she holds up her phone to show it's 11:11. And then there's like glowing special effect around all of them, which I just think, Housewives manifesting. Anyway, but Shannon just looks still out of it. As Emily's like, did you manifest a hairbrush? Because she looks like Snuffleupagus. She looks like a woolly monster right now. Having a tough time getting it going. Also, I want to say Emily's drinking a Diet Coke in this scene, and the Diet Coke representation in this episode is top notch. I don't know if they got a brand sponsorship with Diet Coke, but these ladies are chugging Diet Coke all episode. And that's, I know I'm not a woman, I'm not a housewife, and so I can never sometimes understand these shows to the full effect. But when I see that kind of Diet Coke out there, I'm like, that one's for me. That represents who Ryan Bailey is. We have Emily, Gina, and Heather in a car going over to the Gator rides. And I guess Shannon was supposed to go, but then we flash to Shannon's bathroom, and Shannon's having a tough time getting ready. She's like, I can't, my lashes. They said I'll have time to put put the Regal lashes on. And I if I can do it, I can't. And then we have another car with Jenn, Gretchen, and Katie. And Gretchen by the way, Gretchen, man, somebody has got to, does Gretchen do makeup tutorials on her social media at all? Because she's wearing a cream hat and a darker cream jumpsuit. And at the same time, her makeup is very cream. It's almost like a camouflage effect. But they're all talking about Shannon being late as well. So Shannon has not made it in the car with any of these ladies. And then Emily tells Heather and Gina, hey, did you guys see Shannon's post? And did you see Tamra's post? And Tamra, in her Instagram stories, has a photo of herself at the airport getting out of Dodge. And then she has a little logo that says mental health is health. And the song that she put is Kelly Clarkson's Catch My Breath. And actress, drama queen, actress. Mental health is health. I mean, listen, mental health is so delicate, and I think as Tamra goes through whatever process she goes through with therapy and medicine and all of that stuff, kudos. But sometimes the hard work is done away from social media, and it can read, I'm not saying this is what it is, but it can read a little performative, where it is almost like you want the attention, and that you are also saying that you are bigger than. You're like, oh, I'm better than this. I'm better. I'm protecting my overall mental health. When in reality, if any of these ladies were protecting their actual mental health, they wouldn't be on the show. But Gina's like, if you're truly somebody who I need to work on my mental health right now, your priority is not, I need to post on Instagram. I have never been in more agreement with Gina. And Emily goes, it's how old ladies throw fits. They do it on Instagram. Emily clocking Tamra. Emily having a podcast on Tamra's podcast network. I don't know if they had a comfortable conversation this week, but Emily's right. It's how older ladies and men throw fits on social media. Heather goes, it's just weird. And then we cut to Gretchen's car, and Gretchen's like, she expects all of us to be accountable. You own up, you do this, you do that. She's been saying that for years. And then Katie says, then if you move back, she loses her shit and runs. And this is why I say Gretchen plays an important role this season, because I mean, listen, in the eye of the beholder, they all have something hinky going on. Each one of these ladies, you could throw a dart and something bad could pop up. But Gretchen it's like she studied under the tutelage of Tamra. She knows Tamra's moves. She's like a mind hunter in the FBI tracking serial killers. She knows the moves of Tamra Judge. So she is able to quickly point out Tamra's scenario. And Tamra, like I was saying, usually I would figure in a season, this would make her level, like she would be like, okay, finally, a worthy adversary and rise to the occasion. But I do think she is off her game, and I do think part of that is what Teddy is going through. I think she has internalized all of that, and it is throwing her off a little bit, and she's not stepping up to the plate, and she's running. But Jenn is like, I wonder how the other girls feel about it. And then we flash to the other car, and Heather's like, I can't believe how fucking selfish it is for her to leave. I have been taking up for her. And Gina's like, you have, Heather, you have. You've been doing this because it's not fair to you either, Heather. You wasted so much Veuve Clicquot on her. Meanwhile, Katie lied about this whole thing because I called the journalist. So now Gina Kirschenheiter says she called the journalist. We got deep throat. This is Watergate level, folks. Gina called the journalist. Now, fun fact, I do know the journalist. And I think the journalist might be coming on an upcoming episode of So Bad It's Good. And I knew pretty much immediately, and I texted this person yesterday, and I was like, yo, you the journalist? And they were like, I'm one of them, because they said two. So I do know one. I have a good hunch on who the second one is, but I do know one. And the journalist does say Katie is very off. But Gina called the journalist, and Heather's like, what? And Heather's like, you have this proof. And Gina's like, listen, you're lying. So she's saying Katie is lying. In a talking head, Gina's like, so Tamra basically told me that Kiki Monique, we're forced to say her full name and we get a bonus every time we say first and last name. But Kiki Monique had spoken to a very reputable journalist. So I called that person up and they told me everything and they verified everything that Tamra was saying. So this is where it also gets interesting, right? And this is where I say you need a primer for OC and not just the show, but everything involving like around the show. But at some point, Kiki must have linked up with Tamra Judge, which is really bizarre to me because if you remember, Tamra tried to get Kiki fired from Radio Andy because, and this is classic Tamra, it was actually LaKendra Tooks, who I know very well from Jeff Lewis now, and I love LaKendra. Her podcast is called Tooks Takes, so I'm sure she will be talking about this. But LaKendra, when she used to host Reality Checked, said, her actual feelings about Tamra. And it got back to Tamra, and Tamra reached out to Andy Cohen and tried to get Kiki fired, not realizing that it was another black woman, LaKendra. So it was like another thing that made it was like bad. And I think Kiki spoke up at the time and LaKendra definitely spoke up at the time. It's way over a year ago. But I find it interesting now that Tamra has linked up with Kiki. Everybody just keep one eye open, man. But Gina goes, now here we are. And now we have to acknowledge what the truth is. It made me feel way worse because I had such high hopes for this girl. But I'm out of chances to give you in regards to Katie Janela. So now Gina gets a call from Shannon and Gina's like, hello. And Shannon's like, hey, Gina, it's Shannon. What's going on, Shannon? And Emily's like, is Shannon crying? And she's like, are you okay, Shannon? And Shannon's like, I'm trying to get there. And Gina's just like, all right, just like I've heard this song and dance before. And in the the closed captioning pops up, and in parentheses it says incoherent sobbing. And Gina's like, it's okay, Shannon, I know. And then another bubble pops up and it says more sobbing. And Gina's like, take a breath, Shannon. We'll see you soon. And Shannon's like, okay, thanks. All right, bye. And Emily's laughing. Heather is sipping another can of Diet Coke. And Emily goes, I told her probably an hour ago that we were supposed to be ready at noon. And she's like, yeah, we're going to go mess around with some crocodiles. I can only deal with one crisis at a time. Come on. So now we're up at Airboat Adventures, a gator touring company, which actually looks like a lot of fun. Listen, I don't want to swim in these waters, but I would love to take a boat and see I think that would be kind of cool. I just also feel bad though, because I feel like the alligators are like, we're not on fucking show. This is our home, man. And like the alligators are like, we're like, what are you talking? We watch TLC reality shows. We don't even like Bravo, man. And what's that, Shannon? Who is that, Shannon? Shannon seems really out of sorts, the gators keep saying. So we meet Jordan, the manager of Airboat Adventures, which Katie shakes the guy's hand. I'm shocked Katie didn't pull him aside of going, hey, I've got dirt on all of these housewives. Do you know any reputable journalists? We flash to one of our best physical comedians that we have, Shannon Beador, in a car by herself 10 minutes late. And she's like, they told me I could put my lashes on. Unfucking believable. And she's doing great work with the lashes in the car. And this highlights something that I love, is that there's no glam squad, right? I love just getting up and looking like yourself, for better or worse, and trying to put on eyelashes in a car. I've never tried to put on eyelashes, but I imagine it's hard. But I love let's talk about the bravery Shannon Beador has to show this, to let us in. This is the stuff I love, actually. And we see Shannon just putting them on delicately, and then she drops something. She's like, oh my God, where's the glue? And now she's 13 minutes late. And she's like, one more minute, please. Oh my God, where is it? Oh, shit. I mean, I could watch Shannon just open a package, and I would just watch a whole show of Shannon unboxing videos of I cut myself, paper cuts. Back at the gator place, Gina's like, gators, let's go see some gators. So, anyways, the guy's running them through like alligators, how big they are. And Gina goes, Gina reminds us of what she told us in the first episode, is that, remember, she went to Bali on a vacation and it let her escape all of the fear that she was living with. And Gina in a voiceover is like, when I went to Bali, it made me realize I was living with fear. And I am no longer gonna be ruled by fear. And I really can't think of anything scarier than a murky body of water filled with reptiles. What about a fucking dinner party with your castmates? That's scarier. We flash back to 2018, showing a time when Gina was scared on OC, where all the ladies are in the water, and Gina's like, I'm just scared. I'm scared of just the water itself. And then in 2019, when she's on a jet ski and Emily's like, there's a shark. And Gina's like, oh, help me. Ah. So today, I will test myself to see if I can truly break through my fears. Spoiler alert, Gina does wrestle an alligator. She's like, I've got to face my fears. You're mine, alligator. It's like Happy Gilmore. It's like, you stole my dignity. So the ladies are all jumping onto this boat, which looks like it has a gigantic fan attached to it. So Shannon's right around the corner, supposedly, but Emily's like, my biggest pet peeve it's when people are late. Yeah, I mean, totally. But we see that Shannon finally pulls up and says she's only 20 minutes late. Now, remember on Real Housewives of Miami just a couple episodes ago, Lisa Hochstein was like 2 hours late to get in. I mean, that's a long time. But I also will say, I do believe this is Shannon being late. But remember, producers do stagger the times that these people enter scenes. So sometimes they will create conflict. I'm not saying that's what happened here, but they do kind of try to test the waters of their castmates. So Shannon finally gets there. She's just all eyelashes, huge eyelashes. Shannon's coming up, just like, ah. And the guy's like, we're going on a 20,000 private preserve. It's a lot of great thing to see. Final thing, does anybody have any questions before we go? And then I was like, who's that lady back there? And it's not an alligator, it's Shannon Beador. And Shannon's like, sorry, it's me. I like when Shannon has the quiet voice. Sorry, hi. Yeah, I'm joining you guys. Hi, sorry, you guys. Sorry. And then Shannon's like, I might need my coat. It feels nipply. Can somebody throw me my coat? None of these ladies seem very thrilled to have Shannon there. And then finally, Heather's like, well, you're here now. So they are ready to roll, folks. And then Shannon keeps going, is there sunscreen? Please. Are you mad at me? What's going on? And then Gina's like, this genuinely creates anxiety for me. And Shannon's like, I'm sorry, Gina's like, about the alligators. And Shannon's like, oh, okay. Oh, because of the water. Okay. And Gina's like, you're concerned about you, but I'm concerned about getting eaten by alligators. And she's like, I feel bad that I was late. And she's like, you should feel bad that you're late. We're just going in circles at this point. Let's just see some fucking alligators. My God. Gina has a full crash out. She just keeps talking. She's like, there's too many things. Everybody's freaking out and losing it, but I'm also scared of being eaten by crocodiles. And I don't have Travis's huge balls here to protect me. But Shannon's like, I'm sorry, I had an anxiety attack an hour ago. all of these ladies have extreme PTSD from appearing on the show. Shannon in a talking head says, since my DUI, I have had anxiety attacks. And she's like, Gina, the last thing I wanted to happen was to affect. And Gina's like, it's a lot of fucking things, Shannon. Shannon in the talking head says, all I could say to myself is, just keep going. You got to keep going. Don't think about it. And I never had a chance to process it or feel it. So Gina finally says, let's table it for now. And Emily turns to Heather going, crocodiles eat people with anxiety. That's probably true. Do you think crocodiles are like, that's a good tasting person and that's a person riddled with fear? So anyways, the boat still gets going. And remember, Heather Dubrow hates anything on the water. When they had the London trip last year and that big speedboat, Heather hated it. Heather is just a party pooper. But she's like, I don't like to be on the water in the first place. Can I tell you something? I don't like it. And now we are gliding by a shipwreck and we see just a boat on its side. And it's like, this doesn't bode well. And then we see like some creatures and alligators. There's one just laying in like the grass area. But I can't tell if this is a fake alligator that they put out to excite people on the tours because the alligator isn't moving. But then they do see alligators. And then we also see, is that Tamra? No. Anyways, Katie is like, the creature does look a little fake and it's small. I want to see a massive gator. Size matters, Katie says. That's a dick joke, you guys. So the guy leading the tour says that a lot of the alligators, in terms of the male alligators, are deadbeat dads. They're nowhere to be found, right? Mating season, but then nowhere to be found. And Rebecca was watching this with me, and she's like, oh, kind of like Slade. And then literally a moment after, Emily in a talking head says, oh, we can just start calling Slade an alligator because he's a deadbeat dad. Emily clocking Gretchen and Slade. Anyways, the guy's like, but the mother will guard the nest with her life, right? She will protect the alligator young. And Heather's like, that resonates with us. That's great. Great stuff. And Gina's like, it's like the more you sit, you get comfortable. Gina facing her fear of crocodiles. And she's like, I faced my fear and I survived. I'm a survivor, as Beyonce in Destiny's Child says. Gretchen says, I'm proud of you, right? And then the boat, goes up again. They're going fast. It's fun times, folks. Emily and Gina are now back in their room, and Emily FaceTimes Shane. I really do love Shane because Shane doesn't really seem to get involved in the inner workings of the Housewives like Slade and some of the other men do. Like Ryan's like checking the blogs. I don't think Shane is checking the blogs. And if he does, he just keeps his trap shut about it, so I love it. But this kind of reintroduces the storyline about Emily feeling guilty about being on this trip because shit's going off at home, right? Her son Luke has been diagnosed with ARFID, and there's a lot of testing involved, and she just feels guilty and overwhelmed, right? And Shane just is like, I got a lot of stuff going on. Come on, what do you do? What do you call it? I got stuff. And I don't know, with this, it's hard because this seems like something that's actually going on in Emily's life. It's relatable, I think, probably for a lot of women and a lot of families, but it's one of those things, again, where I always just feel a little when it's involving kids and personal information, because at the same time, I want things to be real, but at the other thing, I'm like, well, who knows if Luke grows up and he kind of like doesn't want his personal shit out there. So like I'm a fan of Emily's. I really like her a lot, and I like Shane. And, this is a real storyline, but sometimes you're just like, ooh, but hopefully, I don't know. There's another scene with Emily and Shane in this episode. So that happens. Then we're at like Bourbon House Seafood in New Orleans for the last night. And they're at this oyster place and we meet a guy. It's professional shucker of the oysters. I've shucked some oysters in my day. Man, I got to tell you, I remember this is like, 20 years ago. I shucked oysters and I have never felt like more of a man because I'm not good. You guys probably know this with like man stuff. Not that like shucking oysters is a man stuff, but like I felt manly doing it. Because I'm like, wow, look at me shucking oysters, like the settlers did one day. But they're at this place, they're eating oyster, and Heather's like, is this what you're known for, the oysters? And Heather has an oyster, and very Heather Dubrow goes, that is lovely. That is lovely. Only a certain person, like a certain person with a tax bracket of Heather's, says things like, that is lovely. Because most of us will just eat our food. Emily makes fun of Heather immediately, goes, that is lovely, which I love. This is the Emily I love. And then Heather goes, you have been making fun of me a lot lately, Emily. Sometimes I feel like, if you said something that I said to you, and in the background, Gina's trying to eat an oyster and she starts throwing up on the oyster. I mean, she's not necessarily at the level of Shannon Beador, physical comedian, but Gina is doing her best to get there. We see a napkin and she's like, oh. This is the second time on Real Housewives of Miami a couple weeks ago, Kiki Barth choked on an oyster as well. So Heather's saying you're making fun of me too much. And in the background, Gina's choking on an oyster. But Heather's like, the snapping, Emily, and the stuff, right? And then now Gina's almost on the floor. This is how we lost Gina Kirschenheiter of rest in peace, the oyster incident of 2025. But Emily says, no, I take things well. You can make fun of me. Just don't, not in terms of the fashion show last season. But anyways, Gina's still coughing, and now she's grabbing Emily's shoulder, I need help me. And she's throwing up in Emily's lap, and Heather's like, are you choking? Where is Terry Dubrow when we need him? And Heather's like, your peristalsis isn't working? Gina in a talking head goes, can you imagine if I fucking died listening to Heather Dubrow and Emily fight as the last thing I ever heard? I mean, some people, that's their dream. So anyways, Heather and Emily keep going back, but it's non-stakes fight. It's very simple. But Gina goes, that's not going to be how I go. It's not going to be how I go. And Gina just now in the scene is I'm just going to fucking choke and die and you're not even going to pay attention to me. That's how housewives get attention. Choke on an oyster. So we moved on from the oysters and Heather's has anybody heard from Tamra? And Gina's I'm sorry, but you brought up a rumor that was really fucking horrible. And Jen's yes, and I don't even know what to do in this circumstance. And Katie, I was swinging definitely more your way. We flash back to the previous night when Gretchen's in the car with, when Gina's in the car with Gretchen and Katie. And it's this situation, we're talking real in the car. I do believe you, Katie. Now back in the dinner, Gina goes, but in my heart, I want to know. I just want to know. So I called the journalist. No reaction from Katie's face. There's a big pause. And Jen's when did you call the journalist? And Gina's last night. And I just said, what is happening? And he said that Kiki Monique was supposed to say her first and last name. And Katie went to lunch about 7 minutes into lunch. Katie brought up this story about the naked, wasted night that Gretchen suspected that she had been roofied that night and that she went to the hospital. And Katie goes, well, that didn't happen. Now, this is going to be unfortunate, though, because I think Kiki doesn't make up things, and she's also not a cast member on Real Housewives of Orange County. So this is what I mean when I'm saying we're getting into the weeds when we don't have this conversation on record and we're talking about somebody that's not a character on the show. But I love that 7 minutes into you're sitting down with your coffee or whatnot. And then you're hey, remember Gretchen naked wasted from 1984? Remember that? Wild. But Katie's no, that didn't happen. And Gina's but it is a credible journalist. And Gretchen goes, the thing I keep getting confused about is the credible journalist never reached out to me to ask if that was true. And Gina's because they're not going to print the story because they know it's a lie. And Gretchen's well, if it's a lie and everybody knows it's a lie, why are we talking about it? And she's if you don't care that Katie said that at lunch. And Gretchen goes, of course I would care about that. But Katie's telling me she didn't. And nobody's showing me proof that actually happened. And Katie's it didn't happen. I'm sorry. It didn't happen. I'm just going to stand by that. And Jenn Pedranti's well, why are you not confronting Kiki? Jenn, congratulations. Jenn is the only one brave enough to just say Kiki and not say Kiki Monique. Shannon, by the way, seems very just letting these ladies just duke it out. But they're why don't you call her Katie? And when I watched this episode before I saw the preview for next week, I'm like, oh, they're bringing Kiki on the show, aren't they? Like you saw this foreshadowed, and Gina and Emily have done many interviews recently saying, you've got to let the season play out. You will see why everybody is wrong. Everybody is pissed at Katie and that she's really not doing good stuff behind the scenes. Now, somebody in my DMs, I love this comment, said that Emily and Gina saying this stuff is fairly reminiscent of Lala on the last season of Vanderpump Rules, when Lala was like, wait till the end. Wait till the reunion. You'll see why everybody's mad at Ariana. And then nothing panned out. But I think in this instance, it's a little different. And I do know some things behind the scenes where I do tend to believe that Katie is moving in some weird, mysterious ways. Now, all of these ladies do, but I think Katie did it a cut above and maybe a little too egregiously. But we'll see. Really at this point, it's like it's a court case. It's up for the show to be able to show us. Right? They have to be able to show us and walk us through this, but it's like we're so in the weeds. You would need like this primer and like this person connects with this person, connects with this person. And at the end of the day, you're like, do we really care? And Shannon is like, well, why didn't you text her and walk over to another room? And Jen's like, yeah, Katie, why don't you send a text to her right now and say, I need to talk. And Katie's like, oh, I don't think she wants to talk. And Jen's like, but then she shouldn't be talking about you, Katie. In a talking head, Jen says, if I were Katie, I would be dialing Kiki right now. Why are you saying this? What is going on? I did not tell you this about Gretchen. I don't understand why my friend won't pick up the phone and make it right with my other girlfriend. Now, at the end of this episode, it becomes a little more clear, but then it also is not clear. It's like the usual suspects. Who's telling the truth? Who's telling a lie? It's like the most boring game of Clue in your life. But also, Jenn is kind of in on this too. Jenn has like the worst memory in Housewives history, if we are to believe her, but she's a part of this as well. But Katie's like, I didn't do this. And Gina's like, think to yourself, Katie, around that time, did you ever share that story with her? I need Gina to be a cop. He's a cop investigating things. And Katie goes, Gretchen, you did tell that story at Mastro's. In a talking head, Katie says, Jenn, Ryan, Gretchen, Slade, Matt, and I all went to dinner on a Saturday night, and we see a photo of all of them. What a rogues gallery. At Mastro's in Newport Beach. Thank God they didn't go to the Quiet Woman. Jenn goes, the only thing is she said she was so, you were so sick, it's like they're trying to improv their way out of this. Jen's like, what did you say, Gretchen? And Gretchen's like, yeah, sick. Yeah. She was really sick. And was that conveyed to be, and Gretchen's like, something more? Right. Jenn says, Gretchen says, Gretchen never said she got roofied. I was literally sitting right there at the exact same table. So this puts Jenn into a bad camp. Like, this is where it's really confusing, because what we find out at the end of this episode is that Jenn would have been aware that Gretchen did say roofied. Katie in a talking head says, I think Heather's lying. Let's be clear. Gretchen and Slade told Jenn, Ryan, Matt, and I at Mastro's the night of Naked Wasted. She felt sick, got up in the morning, went to the hospital. They did a toxicology report, and they found drugs in her system. That's it. So that's what Katie is saying. Katie is saying, even more specifically than got roofied, went to the hospital, and the doctors found traces of this shit in her system. Woo! Housewives is now more of a game of Survivor. I always said this. It's not really about these relationships with women, even though we like to pretend that it is. It becomes this game of Survivor and who you align with and who can be trusted. And you got to be really careful with who you align with. And I think Tamra is one of those people that kind of ushered in this element to Housewives of making it this adversarial game. And then everybody else seems to run with it. So Gretchen says, well, listen, what sticks out for me is that each one of you come to me in my ear about Katie. And if I'm being honest, I feel like there's a lot of, you want me to not like Katie, Gretchen says. And Gina goes, yeah, because Tamra, over and over again. And guess what I did? I listened and I was there. But for some reason, when I told you about this, you're not. And it makes me think maybe you did say something to Tamra. Now she's like Columbo. She's like, I got a wonky eye, but I'm putting it together. And then there's like Zoinks. Uh-oh. Now Gina brings up the idea of Gretchen potentially lying here. And Gretchen, I think, looks shocked, but once again, you can't tell because of the heavy makeup and whatever else she's done. So I think it's a shocked face. Who knows? Shannon also looks like she's disassociating, and her eyelashes look great. And Gretchen says, "You're all defending your friend Tamra, and I can't defend my friend Katie, that I have not had anything weird happen to me." And Emily goes, "We are trying to make Tamra accountable. You're just flat out defending Katie." And Gretchen's like, "Because she has never done anything to me. Tamra's done something to everybody at this table." And she slaps her hand on the table. Once again, I think she's angry. Can't tell by her face. But this is why it's like everybody's bad, is because Gretchen does make a great point. Tamra has done something to every person at this table. Like, that's a great, solid point. And Gina has a face of like, "Zoinks, did I do that?" And Gretchen goes, "Every time I want to eat, I can't eat because they get me upset about something. It's the Gretchen Rossi diet. Get upset so you don't eat." Gretchen in a talking head says, "I want to believe my friend. I don't want to believe the person that is proven to be a liar, a manipulator, a conniving person." "Who are you going to believe?" she screams. "Maybe pray on it." Gina goes, "I'm just telling you what I know, Gretchen. That's all I'm doing. I don't know what to do. I don't know." And then Heather goes, "We feel scared. Because the concern is, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, what happens next." So I like Heather's like, "This is just the beginning. Who knows what happens next? We've been secretly recorded. We've called journalists. I mean, maybe the next step is they call an actual reputable journalist." Gina goes, "I know that Katie says she did not do this, but I can promise you, one way or the other, the truth will come out." I love Jeana Kirschenheiter soapbox. "The truth will come out. Truth, justice, Travis's huge balls, and justice again." Anyways, Gina goes, "Anyways, thank you for coming on this trip. It's been a lot of fun. We're traveling back a little lighter." And Heather goes, "No, because we've eaten so many beignets, we will make up the weight of Tamra." And Gina lets out an insane laugh. I have an insane laugh too. I have a machine gun laugh. But Gina has like a classic Housewives. And it's kind of like a Britney, but like more high pierced. Like Britney's like, shot. Anyways, they cheers to Gina. I love when they act like, well, we've got to pretend like we had a happy trip after we are suspicious of everybody about, back to the OC, you guys. And we go to a commercial.
Back in the OC, and we do a little round robin with some of the housewives. First off, Jenn Pedranti with Ryan, and Jenn saying we rode the mechanical bull, but explaining to him they called it the cock. And then he's like, "Did you ride the cock? Are you going to ride the cock later?" And I was like, gee, I don't need to know. Can we talk about Gretchen and Katie more? Like, I don't want to know what goes on in your bed. And then we go over to Shannon, who's FaceTiming her daughter, Sophie, who's in a bar drinking a beer. Sophie! It's weird. And then we go to Gina's, and Gina's like, "I got you guys Gator gear. I got you stuff from the Gator gift shop." And we see Travis, who looks like his back hurts from carrying around those large testicles all day long.
And then we have mysterious, sad music playing as we see shots of the ocean, some girl looking sad on the beach, a guy with a surfboard, and then all of a sudden we see the Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, it's Tamra in Arnold Schwarzenegger's sunglasses, and she's like walking sadly. It's like, time to heal. And we see her doctor, her psychotherapist, working in her office. And Tamra walks in like, I'll be back. I'm wearing huge sunglasses in psychotherapy. There's also looks to be like a $300 huge bouquet of flowers at the psychotherapist's office. Wonder what the story there is. But Tamra knocks, and the psychotherapist is like, "Hey, come on in. Let's heal. Okay, let me grab your file. It would be great if she like, let me grab your file. And it was like an 80-pound file. But she's like, "What's been going on, Tamra? What's going on?" And Tamra's just like, "So, I've been super anxious lately." like really anxious, and she's tearing up. And I was fighting with Eddie. Like, he had to literally physically hold me down and calm me down, which I was like, what? Where's that scene? We get to see you guys take weird bubble baths, but like Eddie has to hold you down. That was like a dark little comment where you're like, man, the reality of the reality? Like, Eddie had to hold Tamra down? And the psychotherapist is just like, In a talking head, Tamra says, in New Orleans, everything just crashed down on me. Like, life has been so emotional lately. And I went to Big Bear, and we see footage of like Tamra with her dog walking in the snow. She goes, I wanted to isolate myself. Now, I do believe she was still doing the podcast full time during this. So isolation means something different to everybody, right? Tamra says, but then I realized I want to go to therapy as soon as possible because I want to know how to navigate through these emotions. When I was in New Orleans, she tells the therapist, I felt like everything was going well. And the second day I was there, I confronted this girl, and we flash back to the Gretchen scene. Katie said you told her that I roofied you. like everything was going well, doctor. And then I confronted somebody. Like that's a sign that things are about to not go well, right? And then we see a clip of like the whole like Tamra of Gretchen not believing Tamra, blah, 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 blah. Tamra leaves. We don't need to keep seeing these clips. The psychotherapist says, Tamra, what was your intention when you confronted her? And she says, I wanted her to give me the chance to believe her. Also, on the therapist's couch, it has a pillow that says, trust me, I'm a doctor. Is that a sewing down south pillow? But Tamra says, the only thing I remember is Jenn yelling at me and Gina yelling at me. And then I just got up and I left and I went back to my hotel room and I called Eddie and I said, please get me out of here. I got back and I was like, she fails to mention I posted a lot on Instagram, but she says her daughter Sophie got her out of there. She left at 4:00 in the morning. She was a mess. In a talking head, she says, prior going to dinner, I called Teddy to see how she was doing and she didn't answer. And we flash back to Tamra voicemail calling Teddy. And Teddy's like, sorry, I can't come to the phone right now on speakerphone. But on the voice message, Teddy goes, please don't leave a voice message. And then Tamra leaves a voice message. Hey, baby, it's me. I just wanted to say hi to you. I love you so much. It's not a fake, but she's like kissing with her hands, even though it's like a voicemail. Tamra says, so I was a mess going into that dinner. I knew this was going to be really hard on me. And I took a half of a Xanax. You guys, if you listened to last week, I said, we will never hear the truth. She will never admit this. And my God, do I love when I'm wrong. Truly, I was like, yay, the truth shall set you free. You took a half of a Xanax. Probably took a whole one, but at least she said the Xanax. And she goes, I don't remember much after that. She tells the doctor, I was upset, and it was all about like taking Xanax and having 2 drinks. I think she had more than 2 drinks. We saw the drink with Shannon. That looked like a big old drink. But Tamra says, I didn't want anybody to see. If you didn't want anybody to see, why would you have that large drink out there with a camera there? But Tamra says, it's a part of me that I'm not proud of, which is why we always say, then why did you clock Shannon so hard when you are exhibiting similar behavior? Can't you then say, instead of like, you're an alcoholic, say, I have those tendencies as well. I worry about myself as well, and therefore I worry about you. The doctor says, I no longer want to work with you, Tam. No, the doctor says, obviously things need to change. You get triggered, especially when you're drinking. A different part of you comes out. And Tamara's like, I scream, I yell. They obviously knew I had taken something. I mean, but this is interesting, right? Like maybe it's not like things like I'm on the spectrum. Maybe it's just like when I have these pills or this alcohol, it does make her into a different person and potentially the show. And I don't mean the show is encouraging her to drink, but you do need to sometimes drink because you feel so nervous about going into scenes, right? Tamra says, I got home. Not one of them calls me. Why would they call you, Tamra? But also we do find out that they did check on her. Not one of them. I want to point out also, Tamra has not quit the show. She's right here doing a solo scene. Tamra says, none of them were freaking concerned what my mental state was at that moment, how I felt, how I was hysterically crying, how I went home. No, because they saw your Instagram posts. And the therapist is like, what did you infer from that? And Tamra's like, that they don't care about me. That's how I made sense of it. The therapist says, what are you most afraid of in your relationships? And Tamra's like starting to cry even more. And she's like, I don't know, maybe not being liked, being rejection. So now I'm super careful about what I say and what I do. And you're not, by the way, maybe this is how she feels, but it is not how it's presented. It feels like she's not scared at all. And by the way, if you talk so much shit, there is an element of like, yeah, you should live in somewhat fear because you're on a show that's going to bring that shit into the light. The therapist says, you have a very wounded heart because of all of your trauma. That's part of your pathology. Trust, rejection are huge themes for you. Tamra in a talking head says, after my dad left my mom and Sydney left me, that was interesting, right? Because pathology, like there's always a way why we are the way we are. Me, you, Tamra, all of us. And you hear about these things. But I didn't love the language of how she said her daughter left her. Once again, we're bringing up the kids in a way on these shows in which I would understand why the kid would be like, don't talk about me. And also don't infer that I left you, because then it's leaving out a huge swath of their pathology of they felt they needed to leave you to protect themselves. I'm guessing in these scenarios, right? But when you're using this sort of language to say that everybody is leaving you, like the dad thing, God, I could see where that would scar Tamra and really like leave this psychic scar for the rest of her life. But you've also got to make sure to not propagate that same pattern with your own family and your own kids. And saying that kind of in the way that Tamra said it, I think was just a huge mistake. But Tamra says, it's very hard for me to get close. When I start getting close to somebody, I put a wall up because I feel like if I get too close to them, something's going to happen and they won't be in my life anymore. Tamra to the therapist says, I just feel like I'm never good enough. And I within this friend group. And so I go into these situations with these girls and I just feel like I don't know what my place is anymore. Am I a dinosaur? We cut to commercial. Now, how much did we believe of that, right? Because I believed some of it. But I also think maybe Tamra, and I don't know her personally, is that, there's this little bit that we all have, is that sometimes I fucking hate myself and I feel like I'm not good enough, blah, 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 negative gremlin talk in my head. And then sometimes I'm like, I'm great. And I think Tamra does both of those potentially to the extreme. Or if we're to believe her here, is there's a lot of negative self-talk, and then there's extreme adulation for oneself. Is that I also think maybe she thinks she's the bee's knees, or at least that's how she presents herself, unless that's a facade because of the extreme insecurity. But then I also don't know if I'm just one of those people like some of the castmates that get fooled by Tamra, that she's playing people like a fiddle and she's using emotions to have us extend empathy towards her. Because, we've spent so many seasons with Tamra that if we were to judge by the show, they seem like different, like, oh, I'll try this on for size, or I'll try it this way, or it just seems like a different path to get the result that she wants of staying on the show and staying in some sort of power. Because I think that's the thing, is that you see these emotions and us as humans, we immediately want to hug her or be like, it's okay. But then you see the way she's behaved towards the other women all of these seasons. And you're like, wait a sec, is this a bit? How much is this true? And I hate to say that because you want to take everything somebody says at face value. But we have all of this documentations on this show that sometimes she uses these things, or she'll be able to pivot to a different reason, a different excuse. We're now at Emily's house, and Emily and Shannon are talking. Her two sons are there, and Luke obviously has ARFID. She's making some sweet potatoes. He doesn't like orange, but I really like sweet potatoes. I can't eat a lot of, like, that's a healthy carb that my nutritionist tells me I can eat. But yeah, if you're a kid, sweet potatoes. But, Luke has issues. But Emily is telling us that Luke, her son, was calling her nonstop on the trip. And I was like, it would be great if Luke was calling her, because it's like, Mom, I just went out to coffee with Kiki Monique. I went out Mom, I need to talk to you immediately. But he was just calling because he loves her, right? But she feels guilty because she feels she has a child in crisis and it's hard. I'm exhausted, she says. So the kids are off, and now Shane comes back in the kitchen to have a scene with her. And she's like, he's like, how was therapy? And Emily says, I don't think things are good with Luke. I went to New Orleans. I come home and he's talking like a baby. And I was like, wait a second, am I Emily's son? I talk like a baby. And Emily's like, he's hugging me. He won't let go. And Shane's like, I'm going to tell you, he talks like a big boy when you're gone. So it's him. He's like, mom's here, so he talks like a baby. And Emily's taking that information in. She says, I've always been more of the nurturing parent. And I think Luke connects more with me because Shane isn't as warm and fuzzy. He's more of the pragmatic kind of dad. Emily tells Shane it's a neurological issue. That's why we're having all of this testing done. And Shane's, I'm not disagreeing with that. But if it's neurological, why do you get frustrated? It is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. We just got to work around it. And Emily kind of shoots him a look and just like pause. And then she starts crying. I just can't talk about it anymore. I'm just sad. And Shane says, when you're in New Orleans, he's not perfect, but he gets up, puts his clothes on. But when you're here, he texts you from school. He won't let go of hugging you. And some of it is an act for attention. He's changed to be like, some of it's very Tamra coded. No, Emily says, he's autistic and he doesn't think and function like other children do. And I feel like you're simplifying it. And Shane's like, no, now I'm getting frustrated because now you're saying I have to cry and be all upset and mad in order to be considerate when I can still smile and still help him and still be positive. Which do you want me to do? So Shane being very level-headed, but I feel like this is a real couple relationship conversation, right? Shane goes, I don't want to talk about it anymore. You want to try to solve problems or you want to just like say I'm an idiot as if you care and I don't care. In a talking head, he says, I do treat my girls differently than I do boys. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's kind of how I've been doing it. More sensitive to the girls, more little bit get up and walk it off to my boys. Now, I don't love it. I love Shane, but I don't love this because I don't know. I just like be how you want to be. I was a sensitive kid. So obviously I'm going to be like, you don't need to teach boy to like, no, like whatever special something they got in them, boy or girl, I mean, go in that direction, but like walk it off. I think that I don't know. And also I think if you're built a certain way, it makes you feel guilty or less than when you're like, well, I still feel so sensitive. I can't walk it off. I don't know. I mean, obviously now you guys are my therapist. I'm just working through shit, guys. Sorry. But Shane says, Emily, you make it stressful for yourself. You make it more difficult for yourself. In a talking head, he says, if it was up to me, I probably wouldn't be trying to find specialty help for him right away or a specialist or whatever. We have to go at our children's pace, not shoving it in front of them. Now, I don't have children, but I also tend to like be like a little, I don't know if that's the right way. Like if there's actual issues, like I don't think all of their kids are in this sort of care, but Luke seems like he needs it. And there is this thing of like, get ahead of it. I don't know. Where do you guys stand on this? And especially you guys with kids, where do you stand on this? I'm really probably not a good, sounding board for this because I don't have kids. Emily says, I feel like the weight of it is on me. That's all I'm saying. And she's now fully crying. And Shane is not activated by this at all. He goes, the weight is not on you because I am with them a significant amount of time. I mean, this is like post New Orleans blues too, I think. And now Emily's head's in her hands and she's like fully laying on the kitchen island and it's just silence. And Shane's like, I really don't understand why you're... she's crying. I feel like Shane needs to look at the camera like Jim Halpert in The Office. Like, you guys see this? In a marriage, Emily says in a talking head, I need a deeper connection than just, it will be fine. I know that it's really difficult. I know that you have a lot of emotions. You're valid in having those and we're going to work together. We're going to make it through together. And I don't hear that from Shane. And then Shane finally in the scene goes, come on, don't be like this. And Emma's like, you don't understand how overwhelmed. And she's like, okay, I don't understand anything. I don't understand it. And he goes, well, you don't understand how difficult you can be sometimes. Oh man, class. That's not going to win any friends, right there, Shane. Come on, man. But listen, this is a marriage that has lasted for a very long time, and I don't think they are going anywhere. But it's one of those things I would also imagine is like, this is important to work through. It is important to listen to your partner. And I'm talking to Shane when I say this, but I understand it. You know, like Shane's not this emotional person that Emily is. And Shane, it's very black and white. And Emily is like, I am worried. And it's not that Shane isn't worried, but it's just different ways of attacking something. And hopefully they will get on the same page. But it's real, right? It's no Kiki Monique, but it's real. Okay, so we cut from there. We see some surfers in the ocean. We see the sun setting in the OC. We see a fountain. And then we're at a restaurant called Ospie. And this restaurant, I've actually seen this pop up on my TikTok because they have a fried, some kind of cheese, and it's like a fried cheese that you can just put your fork in. It's like fried on the outside and it's cheesy on the inside. It's like a fancy, one of those triple dippers at TGI Fridays. Is that it? TGI Fridays? Or what am I thinking? Oh, Chili's? Yeah, those triple dippers at Chili's where they do the cheese pulls. Man, I miss cheese. I want some cheese, but this Ospie has this cheese thing that looks great. Check it out. I wish this scene was about the cheese thing, to be honest with you. Anyways, Heather is in at Ospie, and she is, who is she meeting in this scene? She sits down, and, she's meeting Tamra in this scene. Tamra, who recently quit the show, but is on the show more than usual now. Heather orders a hot tea. Tamra walks in, camera from behind. Kudos to OC for not doing a slow-mo walk like they usually do. So we see Heather in different sunglasses, not the Terminator sunglasses she was wearing at the therapist. And Heather's like, you look cute, Tamra. And Tamra's like, you look all glammed up. And so Tamra's like, how are you, Heather? And Heather's like, how are you? More importantly. And Tamra goes, better than I was. That's for sure. And we have this waiter that keeps popping up. And even before the ladies thirst over him later in the scene, I was like, this guy is wearing a very tight shirt and he's very muscular. And I feel like this guy's a star. This guy's like Magic Mike 3, The Reckoning. This guy could star. I feel like he's wearing like a baby tee, but he has muscles to fill it out. And they even have his name. He's like, my name's Cody. I'll be taking care of you. Of course your name's Cody. Of course your name's Cody. But, Heather's the hot tea, Tamra's the sparkling water, and the waiter leaves, and Heather goes, what happened? And Tamra's like, what happened that night? Yes, Tamra. And Heather goes, I felt like you walked into that dinner in a good spot. And Tamra goes, I talked to Gretchen, and I was really believing what she was saying. But then I think back to what was said, and how it was said, and her being very, no, which, by the way, Tamra did the same thing in this episode. No. We flash back to 1 week earlier in New Orleans with Tamra going, you've never said anything like this. And Gretchen going, no, absolutely not. I am like spinning, Gretchen says. And we can't tell from her face that it's spinning because, obviously. Anyways, Tamra says to Heather, I said to her, did you tell Katie at any time that you had to go to the hospital? And she goes, and we flash back to a scene with Shannon and Tamra and Gretchen in the car, which I don't think we saw. And Shannon must have just asked her this. And Gretchen goes, I mean, I did the next day. Yes, I went to the hospital. I was so sick. And back in this scene, Tamra goes, but you're telling me you didn't say any of this other stuff. In a talking head, Tamra goes, Gretchen is the queen of denial. Is Tamra the king then? But Tamra's like, I never said, or I never. I'm like, yeah, you did. So which one is it? We cut to a Gretchen Rossi talking head, and she looks like, I don't know, like a Jackie Kennedy Mars Attack look here. She's got like, their hair's all done up. She's wearing this pink number with like spangled bows, and it looks like there's a pearl headband. Anyways, Gretchen says, I felt so sick. I didn't go to the hospital. I felt so sick. I probably should have gone to the hospital. We cut back to Tamra's talking head. The problem with Gretchen is you can't believe her lies. She lies so much. You can't even believe them. So now Tamra talking to Heather going, so I had a little bit of suspicion there. And Heather's like, it triggered you. Yes, it triggered me. And I knew going into that night, and Tamra's starting to cry again. I knew going into that night it was going to be really upset. So I took a half a Xanax. By the way, I'm like, wait, Tamra, are you telling me you can get me Xanax? Tamra? Hey, bud, I think you're doing great this season, Tamra. Can I have some Xanax? But there's like a silence after Tamra says this. Uh-oh, Xanax. Captain Sandy would be livid right now. And then Tamra, in like this reads a little narcissistic, which we all have those tendencies. She goes, I feel like I'm on an island by myself right now. And Heather's like, oh, with the hands. Who the fuck am I, Tamra? I'm really? I was worried about you. And Tamra's like, I get no call from you, Heather? And Heather's like, can I tell you something? Excuse me. I called you that night. I spoke to you on FaceTime. You hung up on me. And I text you, are you okay? And we see Tamra's text message of Heather going, where are you? Are you okay? And you know what you do? You text me, Heather says. You reach out. And now Tamra looks to the side going, okay, this is what you're going to pull. Oh, you're going to spit some truth and facts? No, not on my watch, baby. And a talking head Heather goes, Tamra's been my friend for a long time, and I have stood by her to the detriment of my relationship with other people at times. This is true. This is true. And I feel like the bare minimum would be to just text me back. I think I've earned that. Agreed. Heather continues talking to Tamra. You're out there on social media. You're talking on multiple podcasts. Not so bad it's good, even though that's where you should only talk. Before reaching out to me. And then we flash back to 3 days earlier and we got a twats, a 2 T's in the pod sound clip where Tamra says, listen, I'm doing the best I can do. I just had a situation. And Teddy rightfully says, by quitting? By quitting? Nobody likes a quitter. There's no quitting in Housewives. Heather says, don't you understand how that might be upsetting? And Tamra's like, why don't you fucking understand, Heather, where my head was and how I was feeling? And she goes, I do. No, you don't. You're making me sound like I'm a bad person. Sorry, Heather. I didn't make you feel comfortable when I was in a fucking fetal position. And Heather's like, that's not what I'm saying. This is wild, man. This is like Tamra in action. Tamra twisting something, Heather saying like basic truth, and Tamra just twisting. And the funny thing is, Tamra's right. Tamra's right about the Gretchen scenario, right? But like Tamra's coming off so unreasonable, right? And obviously traumatized with the Teddy stuff, but coming off so weird that like even basic truth, Tamra's trying to find a way to spin it out like from, even though it's like, just say, I'm sorry, man. You're right about all this stuff, Heather. I'm in a rough place. I think some of the audience would rally behind Tamra for that. But alas, we have the defensive Tamra. Heather goes, what I'm saying, I tried helping you, reaching out to you, caring, and I felt like it threw me away. You threw me away. It made me feel like I wasn't important to you. And then I realized I have a fantastic life and I don't give a shit. She didn't say that part. But then Tamra goes, you know what it's like to relive why your daughter doesn't talk to you? And in the meantime, your best friend gets brain cancer? And Heather just says, I'm sorry. And Tamra goes, all I know is I'm dealing with a lot. And Heather goes, I'm sorry you're going through all of that. All of this. Heather in a talking head says, I feel sad for Tamra, but she does not want to hear what I'm saying. And now that she's telling me everything that's going on, it's very sad and it's all very dark and it really doesn't leave any room open to continue this conversation. Right? Like, it's like Tamra needs to listen and to let other opinions and emotions in. She cannot be the only one that feels real emotions. Other people feel them as well. I've exhibited this own behavior in my own life where I do not take into consideration other people's feelings, or I've taken them so into consideration that I've left my own feelings completely out of it, right? The human experience is a wild one. And it's best, right? My mom always says, lead with empathy. So it's really hard because you want to lead with empathy. And I also want to say, I saw a lot of shit out there this week and I think you're going to see it again tonight, with people saying that Tamra is using Teddi as a storyline. This is where I also say two things can be true at once. Is that I do think Tamra is so broken up about Teddi and what she is going through, right? Of course. And I think all the Bravo audience is as well, myself included. My God, I've said this since the beginning. I want Teddi to beat the shit out of this cancer. It is a tough road. And what it does to people around Teddi or around the person that is going through this, it is a weird, caregivers and friends and all of these people, like they are going through an emotional roller coaster as well. Obviously not nearly what Teddi is going through, but it is something that is very true. Now, the good news is Teddi also likes to be talked about. And so I think Teddi is fine with having her name on this show. I think there is this Housewives, there is this thing. They want to be talked about, you guys, in good and in bad, but mainly in good. And, so I don't think Teddi has any problem with Tamra. There's like facade upon facade upon facade in terms of these shows. And I think, multiple things true at once. I think Tamra is going through this, but I also think Tamra is leaning into this because sometimes even when my mom was at the sickest, I would come on here and I would just blubber. And especially on my Patreon, blubber, blah, 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 blah. And I still do it. I still can't get over it. And I probably never will get over my mom. And I don't know if I was necessarily, I don't know, but there's a lot of things, but I don't think she's outwardly, I am going to use Teddi for a storyline. I don't even think she would recognize that thought. I think Tamra operates in a very specific way, but I think Teddi also appreciates being talked about. It being a part of this all. I think every one of these women across all franchises crave attention, and if they didn't, they wouldn't want to be on these shows. So I think, especially if you're sick, you want as many people sending as many good wishes and good vibes and just to be talked about, to feel special. Even if it's on an episode of Orange County. Like, remember you guys that have been OG listeners where my mom, she was very prideful and stuff. And one of the times it scared me was somebody had sent a postcard and my mom really loved it. And I was like, Mom, do you want listeners to send you postcards? And I thought my mom was gonna be like, no. And she was like, yes. And that was kind of scary because I was like, oh God, it's at a point where you're wanting, and man, what did we get? We got an insane amount of postcards and letters and like gifts and a blanket, this beautiful blanket with mushrooms and cookies and all. I mean, it was shocking and beautiful. And when she passed at her memorial, we had all of those cards laid out, not the cookies. We had eaten those, but we had all those laid out because that was the power of you guys. And my mom would just sit there and read them when she was not feeling well, and she would reread them, and she had a stack next to her. But she really loved that, and she said it had given her this strength. And so, yeah. Anywho, let's move on. So, anyways, the food comes, and Heather's like, Tamra, I'm glad that you feel better. I want to be there for you. You can always call me. You can always text me, even if you need to vent. You know that. And this Cody guy's like, Heather, do you want more hot water? My name's Cody. And Tamra goes, I have a serious question for you, Heather, as Cody walks away. And then Tamra's like, what's more beautiful, the tiramisu that was just delivered or the waiter? And Heather goes, I mean, he is hot. Wouldn't it be great if this waiter is actually Terry Dubrow and he's taken the substance? Terry's no longer a rich plastic surgeon. He works at OSPI. He's taken the substance and he's like, I will find my way back to Heather. Anyway, so they're bonding over sexualizing a male employee, which I'm all for. So anyways, Heather's like, I love you. And Tamra says, I love you back. And that's the end of that scene. And then we have our last commercial of the episode.
Okay, so we're at our scene of the episode. We're at Katie Janela's place, and Katie and her husband and her little son's there, and Katie wants a Matt Martini, and Katie about that Tamra loves Matt martinis, and we flash back to last season, 2024, when Matt was making the martinis and Tamra got shitty wasted. Remember that one? And this is what I'm saying, is that has a interesting relationship with alcohol as well. And no, I do not think Tamra's an alcoholic, but I think she does excess. I don't think it's like Dark Side Danny or anything, but that's why it's so weird when she like screams people, because it just really feels like projection. And, like cut loose, but then yelling at other people for a similar thing. And remember, you probably shouldn't serve her anymore, Matt. Alcohol, please. So anyway, they all cheers. Bandon's going to color as they go in the other room and talk shop. Yeah. They sit down, they get cozy, a blanket, they light a fire. So they intercut this scene. We're seeing at Goat Hill Tavern, where we see Jenn Pedranti, her Sandy Pants. I call him Sandy Pants from Grease. Like, Sandy, wop-bop-a-loo-bop. Well, tell me about it, stud. These are those pants. So Jenn Pedranti walks into this bar. Who is she meeting? Oh, she is meeting Emily Mother Simpson. And so Emily comes in, they do the greet, like, oh, we're both wearing leathers. Woo! Tell me about it, stud. And Gretchen Rossi appears as well. So we intercut the Katie Janela scene. Sometimes I feel like I feel like half of my life is just spent while wives hug each other at this point. So the ladies are getting their drinks. And Gretchen's in a full fur at this like hole in the wall bar, which looks like Emily says, I heard through the grapevine that your espresso martinis are not that great. So on. This Emily Simpson's commitment to espresso martinis, we need to study that one day. Gretchen does a Grey Goose with a Sprite and a lime. And the carcass out! Gretchen says, Emily, what's going on with the kids? And Emily's like, oh, it's a lot. One of my sons, he has an eating disorder. And Gretchen's like, my heart hurts. My heart hurts. And Emily says, this has been so hard on me and Shane. We don't know how to parent it. We fight with each other and it's, a mess. And Jenn says, probably the last thing you want to do is, and Emily's like, no, this actually is good because I just need to talk about it. And Gretchen's like, it's a lot. And then Jen's like, let's play pool. He's like, okay, enough of that shit. Pool. So they go off to play pool, right? And then we cut over to Matt and Katie's place. Katie is loving the martini. Matt says, you being home is very good. How did the Kiki situation end? Congratulations on saying Kiki Monique. You did not get your bonus from Bravo this month. Katie says, final night, we're sitting around the dinner table and Gina comes in and she's like, Gretchen, I want you to know I called the reporter and he can be that Katie did tell Kiki Monique this story. If you go back to Mastro's, you hear Slade talk about any of this naked wasted stuff. And Matt's like, yeah, did. And Katie's like, and what did he say? And Matt says, I can say this. You didn't make it up. And Katie's like, no, I did not make it up. And Matt's like, so that's all needs to be said. No, we could say more. I feel like, I give you permission. Let's say more. Say more. And Katie says, after New Orleans, I feel like I've been thrown under the bus. Gretchen had the opportunity to tell the truth for the truth to come out, that she did say that Tamra the night of Naked Wasted. It was clear as day what she said. There was no understanding the words came out of her mouth. And Jenn backing Gretchen and trying to protect her tells me I need to know. So Jenn was there and Jenn heard it too, according to Katie. Katie tells Matt, they were all there and saying, call Kiki right now. Get her on the phone. And Matt's like, I don't even know why you would need to call. Not your story. And Kate's like, yeah, right? So Gretchen, speak up. We to the other bar, and Jen's like, ladies, I want to talk about this whole situation because honestly, Emily, all of your shit, I'm going to support you as long as I can support you, but what the fuck is going on? Gretchen says, when I got home and I had time to decompress and I started thinking about all of it, I was thinking about, okay, am I being naive? And Emily just goes, yes. And Jenn goes, I've been struggling, Gretchen. I get it. In a talking head, Gretchen says, Katie originally told me the problem calling Kiki and addressing it and getting it cleared up. We cut back to New Orleans in a scene that we didn't, where Katie says, I texted her and I texted her and said, one sec.
Katie says, I texted her and asked her to speak to me on camera. And they're like, did she follow up? And Katie says, no. And Katie says, I'm happy to do that. I did not do this. In a talking head, Gretchen says, all of a sudden, in the car ride, she says, well, if I call Kiki, she's just going to lie. And we flash back to another scene we didn't see where Katie's in with Jenn and Gretchen. And Katie's like, I don't want to do it. She's going to lie. And Jen's like, why wouldn't you want to do it? It'll set it straight. And Katie's like, you don't think she'll just be like, I lied? She's going to save herself. And Gretchen in the new scene says, well, that stresses me out because I'm like, are you telling me the truth about this or not? I'm feeling uneasy about this, Gretchen says. We cut back to Matt and Katie, and Matt says, why don't you say to them, shut the fuck up, you're the liars and not me? And Katie's like, you know how hard that is to do? When everybody's against you, you know how hard that is? In a talking head, Katie says, why am I being blamed for this? Gretchen and Slade are the ones who are spreading this to all of these different people. Gretchen and Ned Flanders is spreading all of this to other people and making this story up. And then Katie goes, real talk, let me just back up for a second. And she pauses in the talking head and she goes, okay, but here's the thing. Am I saying what really happened or am I protecting Gretchen right now? And the producer goes, tell me what really happened and we'll go from there. So this is a very bravo fucking bravo moment in a sense, is that it also shows you how they film these talking heads, or at least I believe this, where they have to tell multiple things. They're like, okay, in this one, you're not mad at this person yet. So you're talking like they're still your friend. And then now in this talking head, everything has come out. So Katie is asking, am I doing the story where I believe her? Or am I doing the story of how it actually happened? And the producer's like, tell us actually what happened. And so Katie's like, after Matt spoke to me, the night all of this information came out about Kiki, Monique, and Gretchen, Slade called Matt and said, tell Katie to say Gretchen never said it. And I have to quote unquote, hold the line and protect Gretchen. In the scene, Katie goes, Matt, if Kiki's claiming I heard this story from Gretchen, the only times we hung out with Gretchen is with Jenn and Ryan. So the only time this story would have gotten out is Jenn would have heard it. Ryan would have heard this. And Matt goes, yeah. And Katie goes, so why is it just me? In a talking head, she goes, I feel like I'm a pawn. I feel like Gretchen has been caught in a lie of embellishment, and I am exhausted mentally with trying to cover up for Gretchen and Slade. And quite frankly, Jenn. Because she knows the truth too, Katie says. Matt says the whole thing is, and Katie goes, something is not right. And Matt's like, why are people trying to make this about you? This is very weird. Matt's like, I missed the Golf Channel. We cut to Gretchen, and Gretchen goes, I feel like I'm going to have to call Kiki because I do feel like there's something weird there. In a talking head, Jenn says, so just playing devil's advocate, if Gretchen did say this, why would Katie go and repeat this to a blogger? And Gretchen says, I would be devastated if I find out that she's making up stories like this. Gretchen in a talking head says, I need to get to the bottom of this for myself. I need to know if she said this to Kiki Monique or not. And Emily says, let's just get to the bottom of it. And Jenn says, I hope that we're all wrong. Do ya? Do ya? Do ya? And that's where we end this episode. But we have a preview for next week. And Shannon Beador, it's a birthday for her dad, Gene the Machine. It's 96th birthday. Gene the Machine hit on Rebecca once, I swear to God. We have some sort of New Year party about truth, Emily says. What we are going to do, she says, is take a lie detector test. And Katie looks nervous, and we see a lie detector test, and we hear the thing of like, did you tell Kiki that Gretchen said she was drunk and hospitalized? Katie in a talking head saying, I'm not covering for her anymore. And then Jenn talking to Gretchen saying, Katie just said she feels like she's going to throw up. And then we hear Katie throwing up. And then all of a sudden, Kiki Monique pops in and Kiki's doing a scene with Gretchen. I'm dying. And Kiki says, we had a whole lunch and you were the topic. And Gretchen's like, this is all fucked up. And the Gretchen cry. I think she's crying. I don't know with the face, but it looks like Gina's there. So Kiki Monique, the star of this season of Orange County, finally appears on Real. Will Kiki be at the reunion for Real Housewives of Orange County? Listen, I can't wait to talk to Kiki about this someday. But it's wild, right? Because on one hand, you're like, do not get involved with this. Do not get involved with storyline. But I was talking about this week. I've talked about this on the show before, is when Good Will Hunting got nominated for all those Oscars back in the day. Miramax, led by Harvey Weinstein, they put so much money into making Matt and Ben stars. They're super talented, super good looking, but they pump so much money into putting out their story of two best friends from Boston. They really invested in the story because that helped the overall story and box office of Good Will Hunting. People want a story, sell them on a story, right? And I feel like in some ways, any press is good press. And Kiki does have the show for Andy Cohen's Sirius channel, which Jeff Lewis is on as well. So in some ways, it's good publicity, but it's just oh man, your actual storyline now. So this is where we leave it, but what do you guys believe? Because somebody's lying. I think Katie's lied about a lot of stuff, but here I do imagine a world because that would also mean that Matt is a liar because Matt heard this from Slade. Matt heard this as well. This was talked about at Mastro's, and I do believe a world in when Gretchen would embellish that about Tamra. And that I remember the Naked Wasted episode. She was fucking naked wasted. And she, if you get that drunk, you might have to go to the hospital. I'm so weird. And I'm not making excuses for Katie because I think she did do a lot of things wrong. And I think her relationship with the truth is interesting to say the least. But when you're trying to reach out to bloggers and stuff like that, there's this natural, I've been there in some ways before where people just happen to just start spouting information that you didn't ask for, right? I've been around those situations with people in the Housewives and Bravo world. And, they'll just kind of talk because they're telling you their experience. So was it something, and we'll find out from Kiki, was it something where it was oh my God, girl, this season has been crazy. Gretchen said she got roofied, but it's just sloppy. No matter even if this is all true, it's just sloppy, man. Be careful who you align yourself with. And I don't mean that Kiki's the wrong person to align yourself with, but you do have a job. Your job is to not record your cast members and to not push out things to Bravo blogs and Bravo news stories and stuff. Let the story be the story and don't you're only in your second season. So I don't know, folks. What do you think? But I hope we had fun today. Can we say that at least? You made it to Friday. Remember, there's going to be a special episode on Saturday. We're going to be dealing with And Just Like That with our friend Nicole Travolta. So come back for that. It was a really fun conversation. I'll be over on the Patreon where I'll be recapping the final 2 episodes of And Just Like That because I had to. And I've been working on this episode now, it feels like, for a week. So that'll be out there on the Patreon this weekend. But have a great one. Eat something good. Drink something great. Tell people that you love them. Go outside, move your body, or just stay indoors and watch television and read and listen to good music. And I will see you, we'll all talk on Monday with the Pop Culture Roundup with Sophie Ross, okay? Have the best weekend ever, guys. Bye.